everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. So today we're going to try something different. This is a cybersecurity conference that I'm attending today. It's going to be live. So I'm just letting you know that I am going to...
Good morning, everybody. We still have folks joining this morning's session. So give us a few more minutes and we'll get the program started.
Okay, so there you go. We're going to be live. You're not going to listen to me. I'm going to number these in order because this is a 6-hour conference. So if you're interested in cybersecurity, this would be a great way to learn about it. If they play music in the background, I will have to lower the volume because the music police will come after me. So I think that's about it. I'm going to let the Speaker of the House come in and talk. And hopefully it will be 20-minute videos. It'll be around 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes each video. I can't download 6 hours of video because my computer will not let me. So stay tuned. I might pause this until she comes back on.
Staff and our speaker who have contributed to ensure that this event is a success. We are delighted to have our returning attendees, as well as those who are joining us for the first time. We have a great lineup of speakers from both government and private industry for addressing critical cybersecurity topic today. Before we get started, I would like to share a few logistics with you. We ask that our attendees to turn off your camera and remain on mute at all times. If you're experiencing a problem with the internet, please consider using the audio dial-in number that's in the meeting invite. If you get disconnected, please simply rejoin the meeting and we will submit you. You may submit questions by using the WebEx Q&A function. Our staff will be monitoring the Q&A window. Also, we have the media in attendance with us today, joining our morning session with the Deputy Attorney General, Lisa Monaco, and the National Cyber Director, Chris English. We welcome our colleagues in the media and ask as a reminder to log off at the conclusion of this morning's session at 11:45. Without further ado, I am pleased to introduce our very own Dr. Dorothy Fleming Williams from the Civil Rights Division, who will perform the National Anthem. Please welcome Dr. Dorothy Fleming Williams. I'd like to introduce the Department Chief Information Officer, Ms. Melinda Rogers.
Thank you, Boo. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Department of Justice's Cybersecurity Symposium. Cybersecurity remains a top priority for the department and our nation. It is a journey of continuous improvement where we must always elevate our game in identifying early and responding quickly to the relentless cyber campaigns, intrusion and exfiltration attempts, and outright attacks against our brand. The administration has worked to strengthen our nation's cyber defenses by mandating extensive measures across U.S. government agencies through Executive Order 14028. Protecting our nation from malicious cyber actors requires the federal government to partner with private industries who supply us with their hardware, software, cloud environment, and people. The private sector must adapt to the ever-changing threat environment, ensure its products are built and operated securely, and ultimately partner with us, the federal government, to foster a more secure cyberspace. And that is exactly what we are doing here today, bringing together top executives from government and private industry to share insights on cybersecurity trends, challenges, and most importantly, solutions. I encourage you to think about today's discussions and how they apply to your organization in your day-to-day activities. Without further ado, it is my honor to introduce our first guests, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco and National Cyber Director Chris English for our fireside chat today. Dag Monaco is the 39th Deputy Attorney General of the United States, serving as the Chief Operating Officer responsible for the overall supervision of this department. A 15-year veteran of the Department of Justice, Dag Monaco served as a career federal prosecutor and in several leadership positions across the department. She began her justice career as counsel to Attorney General Janet Reno and went on to serve as an assistant U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, where she was a member of the Enron Task Force and received the Attorney General's Award for Exceptional Service the department's highest award. She thereafter served in several leadership roles, including Chief of Staff at the FBI to then Director Robert Mueller, Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General, and Assistant Attorney General for National Security, the first woman to hold that position. From 2013 to 2017, Dag Monaco worked at the White House as the Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor to the President. She advised on a wide range of issues, including the response to international and domestic terrorist incidents, cyber threats, and natural disasters. She is a graduate of Harvard University and has a law degree from the University of Chicago. Joining Dag Monaco in this morning's fireside chat is Mr. Chris Inglis. Director Inglis currently serves as the first Senate-confirmed National Cyber Director and Advisor to the President of the United States on cybersecurity. Director Inglis's military career includes 30 years of service in the United States Air Force and Air National Guard, from which he retired as a command pilot at the rank of Brigadier General. He retired from the Department of Defense in 2014 after 41 years of federal service, including 28 years at the National Security Agency, of which over 7 years was as its deputy director. A 1976 graduate of the United States Air Force Academy, Director Inglis holds advanced degrees in engineering and computer science from Columbia University, Johns Hopkins University, and the George Washington University. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to Dag Monaco to kick off the fireside chat.
Thank you so much, Melinda. And welcome, Director Inglis. We are so fortunate to have you kicking off our program this morning. I want to really thank you for joining us and giving us some of your very valuable time. I only wish we had the fire next to us for our fireside chat, but we'll have to just imagine it in our Zoom world here. Melinda gave us your introduction, but I just want to tell the folks who are participating in this and listening my own perspective on Director Inglis, who I'm fortunate to call not only a colleague, but a friend, somebody who I have had the great good fortune and privilege to work with across several of the positions that Melinda referenced in my introduction. Chris, I think you and I first came to know each other when I was the Assistant Attorney General for National Security, and you're the Deputy Director of the NSA, leading the men and women of that incredibly important institution in our government and in our intelligence community, and at the forefront of the cyber mission. And then, of course, you and I worked together when I was the Homeland Security Advisor. You are, and I don't want to make you blush through the screen, Chris, but I want folks to know you are what I count as a national treasure, both as a public servant and as a leader when it comes to the mission to protect this country, particularly from cyber threats. So there is not a better person for the president to have chosen and the Senate to have shown its wisdom in confirming as the first national cyber director. You are uniquely positioned to lead that incredibly important office. And I'm just so pleased that we're going to get the benefit of your perspective. And frankly, because you know us well, you know the department and its mission and the role that we play as partners across the community when it comes to cybersecurity. So thank you for joining us.
Well, Lisa, if I might, and I could call you Lisa Dag Monaco back at you. It's been my privilege and pleasure to work alongside you in so many different capacities, and frankly, alongside counterparts from the Department of Justice and the FBI in all of my time across public service, not least of which is my time at NSA. It's a privilege to be here today, so thank you for the invitation.
Well, great. Look, let's get started, Chris, so we can talk through. You've been incredibly active in your first several months on the job. I guess almost a year. In terms of your role as National Cyber Director. But I took note of a recent article that you wrote, and I would commend it to all of the people participating and listeners. You wrote a piece recently in Foreign Affairs about the need for a new cyber social contract, and it was really well done, really interesting perspective. I would urge folks to to go and read it. But in it, you talk about rebuilding trust and realizing the promise of both cyberspace and, the internet that we have, which held out such promise at the beginning. And now we're seeing, let's just say, the full spectrum of both promise and peril, I think, when it comes to our connected world. Give us a sense of how you go about establishing that new social contract that you talked about. How do we rebuild the trust that you, I think, quite rightly recognize that we need if we are going to realize the promise of cyberspace?
Yeah, so thanks for the question and the shout out for the article. It's in the Foreign Affairs Journal. It was the online version. But I think I would offer four things from that article. But frankly, the article was really a citation of how we think about this space in the Office of the National Cyber Director. And in that regard, we're drawing strength from a lot of other perspectives as well. DOJ is one of those. First, we have to remember what cyberspace is for. Think back to 1990, those of us that were kind of aware of it at the time had a very positive, audacious sense of what it could deliver to us. Thought it would be the most democratizing force on the planet. We kind of realized, I think, what individual, business, societal aspirations we might give voice to and achieve on top of it. And yet, somewhere along the way, we found ourselves presented with a number of threats. Whether those threats were errors in terms of complacency or inaction on the part of individuals, criminals, or nation states, that we now find ourselves in a situation we sometimes obsess about the threats and we've forgotten what the positive aspirations of the space should be. I think that we should re-achieve an attachment to those positive aspirations and get on with the investments necessary to realize those aspirations. Having said that, I think that we need to also understand what cyberspace is made of. A lot of us, perhaps, were kind of given to think that cyberspace was entirely made up of technology, software, hardware, the connective tissue, the things that store, present, process information back to us. But there are two other components that we ignore at our peril. People are in cyberspace. The choices they make implicate cyber futures all day, every day. 85% of the things that we would describe as having gone wrong in cyberspace are attributable to actions that human beings take. And then finally, something that's a bit more nuanced, somewhat esoteric, is doctrine is in cyberspace. That's a fancy word for roles and responsibilities. When you think about what went wrong in the SolarWinds attack, my sense was that there's any number of technical, maybe even human features to that. But foremost, it was nobody knew who was defending that supply chain. No one knowing who was defending it, everyone assuming somebody else was defending it. Turns out no one was. And we have to figure out how to solve those three dimensions in reverse order. Got to get the roles and responsibilities right. Got to make sure people are up to speed and can take full advantage of the features in this space, and then finally bend technology to those purposes. That leads us to the new social contract. How do we allocate responsibility across the entirety of cyberspace? How do we kind of answer the question of what do we owe each other? A bottom line piece of that might be the moniker, the slogan of, I propose that if you're a transgressor in this space, you got to beat all of us to beat one of us. That would be new. That would be different. And the two elements of strategy that then emerge from that are we have to stop thinking about cyber as an entirely operational exercise, meaning that we wait for the 2 or 3 alarm fire. We need to get left of the event, make the investments in doctrine, in people, in technology, so that it's a naturally resilient space. Like cars are inherently resilient. We can defensively drive cars because they're prepared. The road systems are prepared for us to actually engage in that activity. So long as we play some small part in it, they're designed so that we can get safely from place A to place B, or airplanes, or drugs, or therapeutics that are used for the benefit of mankind. We need to do that investment in cyberspace. And then finally, the second aspect of this is we need to stop thinking about this as a strict division of effort where everyone does what they do in the kind of the confines of their exquisite silos of excellence, their stovepipes, and rather think about how do we actually achieve a degree of professional intimacy so that we can discover threats together, deal with those threats together in a way that we crowdsource the transgressors the way they've so long kind of crowdsourced us. I think that's the hallmark of what that article attempts to say, and it can be, I think, the foundation for a new contract going forward of how do we deliver the promise of this space.
Chris, I I think you describe what's needed in that foreign affairs piece really exquisitely. And, I like the reference also to professional intimacy amongst the players and the teammates, rather, in this space. Your piece also talks about the Colonial Pipeline attack, which we all recognize and I think saw as kind of a sit-up straight moment that shows some of the downsides of the interconnectedness and our dependence when it comes to critical infrastructure and the cyber threats. Can you talk a little bit both about what the mission is of the National Cyber Director in your office? I know you spent early on in your tenure, I think, what was a very thoughtful exercise in laying out what is the mission statement, what is the role for this office. Can you describe that for this audience? And then what, from your perspective, is the role of the Department of Justice and the FBI and the role that we play in addressing both being a part of the team that you talk about needing to be professionally intimate, to use your phrase, in your foreign affairs article? Chris, did you hear me?
There we go. Didn't find the right button. I'm the National Cyber Director, but I'm looking for the right button. At any rate, so it's a wonderful question. I would say the following, which is any organization or individual for that matter, when it comes into being, has to ask themselves a fundamental question: what is the purpose of your power? Right? And so to that end, I think the answer that we're giving from the National Cyber Director, reading the statute, looking at the lay of the land, it's a crowded space. There are a lot of extraordinary assets in this space, not least of which the Department of Justice, the FBI. I think the purpose of the power granted to the National Cyber Director is to create context, to champion kind of the aggregation of the parts into something that exceeds the arithmetic sum, to make it such that we can achieve an optimal effect with all of these extraordinary pieces that we have. That then translates into four broad responsibilities for the Office of the National Cyber Director. The first is coherence, federal coherence. How do we achieve unity of thought, effort, and purpose using all of these piece parts? PPD 41, known richly to many on this audience, took a stab at that in 2015-16, I think, and said that, look, for purposes of responding to events, the FBI, Department of Justice, will be responsible for threat response. Department of Homeland Security will be responsible for asset response. That's an approximation of how we begin to do that. But I think we need to go further, which is how do we make it such that there is a daily complementary set of activities that are more horizontal than vertical, and we essentially are kind of delivering what not just the federal government needs, but what the private sector needs. That's job one. Job two, drive public-private collaboration. That's different than division of effort. That's different than pooling information. That's different than sharing information. That's about the professional intimacy that you mentioned, where we can discover things together that no one could have discovered alone. And I see that beginning to happen in places like the NCIJTF and the kind of CISA equivalent, the JCDC, the Joint Cyber Defense Collaborative. Job three, future resilience as opposed to present resilience. Present resilience is based more on the response to 2 and 3 alarm fires. How do we get left of the event so that we're building in resilience to roles and responsibilities, people, technology? And then the fourth responsibility we have, which is a necessary foundation for all of the above, is performance assessment. How can we characterize that we're on the right road, or if we're not, what investments do we need to make? Not just dollars, but authorities, permission, initiative to get to the right place. Having said that, I would love to kind of turn the mic around. And Lisa, you've long been an advocate for using all available tools against criminal and national security threats. What does that all tools approach mean for you in the cybersecurity and cybercrime context?
Sure. Well, look, I think that we have such a unique role to play, we at the Justice Department, and our constituent parts, whether it's our criminal and law enforcement tools, our intelligence piece that we bring to this through the FBI's mission, and frankly, some of our civil enforcement tools as well. And I think we've got to use all of them and be contributors to a whole of government effort when it comes to going after and addressing cyber threats. So what I've tried to do is talk about us being one player as part of the whole of government approach. using every tool that we have. So, and using them in new ways. And we saw this in some of what we've done over the last year. I referenced the Colonial Pipeline attack, as you know, and as others on this screen likely know. We were able to follow the money when that ransom was paid and use what I call traditional law enforcement authorities and tools in very new and cutting edge ways to seize back that ransom and return it to the victim company. That's important on a whole set of levels, not the least of which is establishing a rhythm with the victims in these attacks to work with us, to share information, yes, so they can get their ransom paid back, but almost more importantly, to help us help the next victim and prevent the next victim. So that's just one example of a role that we play. The other thing is, I think we need to, when we talk about all tools, it's something we've used in relation to other national security threats. You and I both have engaged on counterterrorism issues in our former lives. And our ethos there has been, let's not wait for the attack to happen. Let's do everything we can to prevent it in the first place. And that's the same ethos I think we need to bring to bear when it comes to cybersecurity threats, particularly those that can have an impact that goes to safety, security of our people. And so what I have done is told all of our prosecutors and U.S. Attorney's Office around the country, don't wait to take action, constantly be looking for ways that we can share information, take disruptive action that can prevent an attack from happening, and help mitigate the impact on the victim. So, for example, in the Kaseya attack that happened, we were able again to work with the victim in that case to use our unique set of tools to identify and take hold of the decryptor key and then share that with myriad victims. So those are the types of things that we really need to be doing, looking across our tool set, not waiting for the ultimate potential prosecution. That's always going to be important. And obviously that's our bread and butter. We're going to want to continue to hold to account those that we can. But we also need to be moving that kind of continuum forward and looking for ways that we can work with victims, work with partners so that we can both prevent and mitigate the impact.
So I love that. There seems